Hello and welcome to the festive Punters Guide. And it's just little old me. Matt, unfortunately, has lost his voice. He really has lost his voice. I thought Darth Vader was on the phone to me when he gave me a ring. And Joel is busy away, probably delivering presents. But from the three of us who are usually here, we hope you had a very Merry Christmas. We hope you've enjoyed yourselves and still are enjoying yourselves in this funny old gap between Christmas and New Year when the racing is top draw. I'm not sure how many of you escaped Christmas duties on Boxing Days to get stuck into the racing, but I hope you did because Constitution Hill is back. That's the story. I went to Kempton and it was brilliant. I think he really did draw the crowd because although this in some ways was sad to see, the crowd after the Christmas hurdle towards the King George had less of a buzz because I think lots of people went purely to see Constitution Hill. And we need those horses. It's great that he has that effect on the racing public, and it's great that he is back. Whether he's back to his best is up for debate, but he was certainly good enough. I know that Lossiemouth, everybody will, including Willie Mullins, has said that he was disappointed, that she was never going, and once the tape went up that he wasn't very happy. But I guess in the same breath, Constitution Hill would not have been 100%, and he will still come on for that as well. So we don't have a whitewash at the festival. I don't think it'll be competitive, but I strongly think Constitution Hill can go back and retain his champion hurdle crown. It was great to see. And Banbridge, well, I don't know if you backed him in the King George. A stellar ride from Paul Townend to chase down LA Francais. Heartbreak for Joel. I'm sure we'd have 20 minutes of Joel telling us about his trip to Barbados if LA Francais won, because he was backing him at any price and all prices. Great racing on Boxing Day, but this is to look ahead to Saturday. Obviously, we've got the Challow at Newbury and then the Savills Chase over in Ireland. So we'll start with Newbury. We've got 4 races on ITV. The first is 1:45, 2.5 miles. Go to War tops the market for the Henderson Yard. Mr. Hope Street's in there for the Skeltons. Mr. Bramley won nicely last time out, as did Right So Tom. Those two come into it with a good bit of form. But after doing the numbers on this and looking at those two that have won last time, and a couple of these have been put up in the weights a touch, just dip into Go to War's form. He's rated 124, the same as the likes of Mr. Bramley in here, the same as Mr. Hope Street. But Go to War, you go back to even his bumper runs. I know that they've all moved on from bumpers now, but he was running to RPRs of 116. He showed talent early on, and I think just because of the yard switch, and maybe some issues as well, obviously, because he was off from December 23 to March 24, he probably hasn't shown his full potential yet, and this looks like a winnable handicap. So I just think on the basis of him having a couple of issues along the way and being switched yards, we haven't seen the best of him and therefore remains well handicapped. So Go to War to kick us off with a winning favourite for the Seven Barrows team, who are in better form, it must be said, than the likes of Dan Skelton and Paul Nicholls, who haven't fired yet over the Christmas period. The 220, they've got to go 3 miles and 2 furlongs. It'll be tough. Holy Smoke tops the market for the Skeltons. He's won at the track before over hurdles, and potentially now being switched to fence as well. No, just over hurdles, but they'll be having a good crack with him. I think we've got to stick with Venetia Saturdays. She didn't have a winner on the Thursday. She might on the Friday, but Venetia Saturdays are back. And my thinking here with Hold That Taut is we haven't seen him yet. And Venetia's, I won't say luck will run out, more her handicap marks will run out. And her strike rate has dropped to 7%. And that will be partly due to less runners. Potentially less of her big guns running, because we've seen them in October, November, early December. But more so because she's backed horses that horses have been winning once, twice, even 3 times, and their mark's been climbing, and that handicap mark has been exhausted in some cases. In Hold That Taut's case, we haven't seen him yet this year. So although Venetia's form may dip slightly, I think first time out, round Newbury, could be another chance for the team to strike with Deutsche on board, the fan favourite from the Punters Guide podcast. So Hold That Taut in the 220 gets my nod. Moving on to the 255, 2.5 miles. This is the Challow. This is the big one on the weekend. And funny that Potter's Charm didn't have a crack. He actually said that they'd rather just go and pick up the Ancient Grade 1 because they thought it'd be easier. And easier it was. But this leaves this open to somebody. Now, I know I said the Scoutons aren't flying yet, or they haven't struck over Christmas. The New Lion was pretty much a horse on my list that the next time he runs, I'll back him, because I was super impressed with him when he won here last time. And if there was ever a horse to base your jumping off, Constitution Hill, showing how much slick jumping can do in a race, gives me even more confidence with the New Lion coming into this, because I thought he took his hurdles superbly last time. And to be that quick over your hurdles in novice company can go a long way. Regent Stroll is obviously uber talented, but if he's a bit messy at one like he was last time, he won't be allowed to still go and win the race. And where he's a bit clumsy, the New Lion's the opposite. I will give a shout to Bill Joyce as well to trouble the New Lion. He's certainly not discounted. But the way that the New Lion's gone 3 from 3 and done them all impressively, as I said, he was pretty much going to be backed by me, whatever he did next. And I hope that he can prove that he can go on to be top class and, maybe trouble the Irish at the festival. The New Lion for me in the cello. Last race of the day. If you're a regular listener to the Punters Guide, you probably guess where I'm going here. Shanna Bob. I think he was on my maybe one to follow for the season. He was disappointing on his first start over fences, but I haven't lost the faith, and I think that Newbury is going to be an easier track. It is an easier track for a novice chaser, isn't it, to get their head around larger obstacles. He was looking very novice-y over hurdles and quite clumsy. Hopefully that doesn't just carry on, as he is a clumsy character, giving me sort of flashbacks of Asterion Furlong in the Donnelly Silks, who couldn't organise his legs. But I feel like he has enough talent to win a race like this. He obviously has to jump better than what he did on his first start over fences, but basing off what he did over hurdles and the kind of trajectory that I hope he goes on, a novice handicap chase off a 132 on a relatively easy track to navigate. I think he's a good bet, Shanna Bob. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go off favourite, to be honest. Right, over to Ireland. 2 great races, Savills Hurdle and the Savills Chase. 2 grade ones. A good ding-dong in the Savills Chase, but we'll get onto that in a sec. The Savills Hurdle comes first, and I kind of came back to home by the lead by process of elimination, really. Bob Ollinger got pumped by him in this race last year. Hewick and Asterion Furlong and Noble Yates are both first time out, and they don't have the best record fresh. If you go back and look at the last couple of seasons, what they've done on their first start, they usually come on for it. So I'm not getting carried away with those two. Hewick, we don't really know what he's up to at the moment. Are they campaigning him as strongly as they might if the Shark was in town? Are they giving him a slightly easier time of things? I don't know. He obviously runs with credit every race, but I don't think I'm ready to side with him here. And then Sandor Clegane, he ran okay last time. I just don't know if he's quite up to top standard in a race like this over hurdles. I'll be looking at him over fences further down the line. So after going through the card and then home by the lead, putting a great performance last time, hopefully he can back that up, and that'll cheer Joel up after his Ile Francais defeat, because he's an avid backer of home by the lead. Right, last but certainly not least, the Savills Chase. 2:35 over at Leopardstown, 3 miles and a touch. It really is Factor File versus Galloping des Champs. Or maybe it's not. Let us know if you think that there's someone else that can come into contention here. Obviously, the Grand National winner, Iron Maximus, Gentleman's Game, has had his troubles, but is a super horse. And he did win. Was he fresh when he went over to Wetherby? Relatively, ran in September. And then obviously won the Charlie Hall. Good horse on his day. But for me, it really is a ding-dong at the top of the market. Factor File versus Galloping des Champs. Do you take the John Durkan at face value? Is there more to come from Galloping des Champs? I think there is more to come from Galloping des Champs. Obviously, he's put in his pretty much worst performance in the John Durkan each season in comparison to what he does at other places. And he's obviously very good at Leopardstown. I just think Factor File is still on the up and could be an absolute freak. I kind of feel like he might nick it again. I don't know. It's hard to say how much, and obviously the other JP horse, Spillane Tower, disappointed in the King George. It's hard to say how that race really unfolded and how hard Spillane Tower was coming to travel. But when he came up side Factor File on the John Durkan, he did find a bit extra, and that's teased me into thinking there might be a lot extra under the bonnet. And I don't think we've found out yet. So until we do, I'm going to stick with him. I have a hope that he might be uber talented. So for me, in the ding dong, and this is not because I think Galopin de Champ's disappointed in the John Durkan. I think he ran the best race he has in any John Durkan, which would lead you to believe he's going to put in an even bigger performance in this race than he did last year. I just think Factor File could be a freak. I may still back Galopin de Champs at the festival, though. That's his playground, and he's very good at that undulating track over those fences. But for me on the weekend, the Savills Chase goes to Factor File. There's 6 races on ITV. I hope you enjoy the racing. For me, it's the 2 favs in the features and a nice each-way bet on Hold That Taut. Another Venetia Williams winner on the Punters Guide would be great. As I said at the start of the show, I hope you have had a very Merry Christmas. I hope you've enjoyed the racing and do enjoy the racing on Saturday. And we'll look forward to seeing you or you listening to us in the new year.